And to discuss this topic, I'm glad to have here within this roundtable Mr. Idriss Yazami, or the President of the National Human Rights Council. Hello, and thank you for being with us.
Thanks for the invitation.
Thank you. We also have Mr. Federico Brocchieri. You are a project coordinator and Italian Youth Delegation coordinator.
Yes, precisely. Thank you very much for your invitation.
Thank you. And Hajar KHAMLICHI, so you are a co-founder, a member founder of this Mediterranean Youth Climate Forum. Hello.
Hello, thank you.
And thank you for this initiative. I want to congratulate you as well for this beautiful initiative. We will talk about this initiative of the young people, the youth, the Mediterranean youth. There is a gathering around this climate change issue. But before, how do you see the place that we give to the young people to defend this issue of climate?
You know, from a global point of view, I do think that there is no, the youth in our countries, mainly in the south of the Mediterranean, are still waiting for global policies towards their problems.
Exactly.
And I do think also that we can't struggle against the climate change without an involvement of the youth. We are in country, in continent, where more than 50% of the population are under 25 years. So there is no future without their participation.
Of course.
Their involvement. A strong and dynamic civil society gathering all this youth.
Yes, we're talking about civil society. Now we see that we don't have that much, you just mentioned it, we don't have that much projects of young people that care, because we have a lot of associations of young people, but that fight for their environment, for their planet, is something that we're not very familiar with in Morocco. Why do you think that we have this lack? In Morocco and in a lot of countries within the Mediterranean Sea.
You know, we are discovering lots of good NGOs working, you know. Maybe the media and, you know, the political leaders weren't aware of this dynamic, but I think that there are lots of dynamics already there. When you look at lots of universities, you have some, and also schools, you have some environment clubs, you know, working for years and years.
Definitely, yes.
I think that the COP22 and this Medcop, this Mediterranean Medcop, will give us the opportunity to see them, to discover them. But in fact, they are already working and quite active.
But we don't know them.
You know, when you look at the work of the Mohammed VI Foundation, they are working with the boys and the young boys and girls for decades.
Yes, and here's this initiative, Mr. Yazami, that is really to applaud, because it is good to motivate Moroccan youth to work within this Mediterranean group, because we are part of the Mediterranean as well as the African youth. So how this idea was born of this forum? Maybe ladies first, or Mr. Federico? Ms. Hajar, the mic.
Actually, as Mr. Yazami said, there is a lot of NGOs or associations or parts of civil society who actually are working on environment, sustainable development issues. But the event of the COP22 here in Morocco and the Medcop Climat really increases and motivates us all to talk and work on climate change. That honestly, that raises our awareness, awareness of Moroccan young people about the problem or issue of climate change. And the idea, it was a Moroccan initiative coming, saying, as we are, as we have in front or among the among the within the negotiations who are happening at the COPs, only Morocco as one country alone. He doesn't have that strength point or mark. Okay, our aim from establishing this network is really creating a strong coalition and raise youth voice through it. So now it wouldn't be Morocco talking about his vulnerability on climate issues, but
Sure.
it would be all the Mediterraneans, because we share the same context, we share the same circumstances. So, by the way, it's a due diligence to do it right now and not after, by the way.
Yes, very beautiful word, this coalition you talked about. And maybe Mr. Federico, so you're here, you're Italian. You've been working within the civil society, especially environmental civil society in Italy, Mediterranean. How did you make the connection with the Moroccan initiative?
Well, first of all, I have to say that this idea of working together between youth climate movements in different regions in the world in general starts from the Conference of Youth, which is an annual event which takes place just before of the Conference of the Parties. I personally started attending the COES 5 years ago in Durban during COP17, and that is when I realized that we needed to work together, because if, of course, on the one hand, there is a lot more that we need to do, there are a lot of things that we are already doing, but we were doing separately. So we need to work together, we need to find common standards. And that's how we started to work with other organizations from different countries in the world. And of course, because the Mediterranean, as we were saying before, is a specific region, and although climate change is a global problem, it has specific regional and local implications. We cannot deal with the issues that the Mediterranean is facing just acting and working on our own. We need to work together. If sea level is rising in the Mediterranean, we can't just think of dividing the Mediterranean Sea in the coastal areas in front of our countries.
Yes.
And the same with temperatures, etc. So
Yeah.
for these actions, we need to work together. And this is the reason behind the forum that was convened on Sunday, and which is the basis for a new network of youth climate organizations in the Mediterranean for undertaking further actions in the future.
While talking about further actions in the future, now we finally concluded that states cannot work by themselves.
Yeah.
Governments cannot change things if they're not allies with the civil society, with non-governmental organizations and even companies. So the COP21 was let's say, the first call for this conclusion.
Yeah.
What about the COP22?
You know, you are completely right, you know. You can't stop climate change by, giving a visa, you know. So you need really
Yes.
to have a global and international action. You need actions at level of states, at the micro and the local, from local to global, you know. And you need also this multi-stakeholders alliances and new alliances to establish between the private sector, the NGOs, the local governments, the states, the United Nations mechanisms. I think that we have to think about a new framework for thinking, when it comes to climate change. What we want in Marrakesh is to give the floor to all these different actors, but also to facilitate the discussion between them, and also to give a voice for the most vulnerable countries. It will be the COP in Africa,
Exactly.
and we know that Africa is the most vulnerable with the islands, in the Pacific, the most vulnerable part of the world, and we want this COP22 on these two slogans, multi-stakeholders alliance and the COP of Africa.
And the youth is...
For the civil society sector, we establish 4 priorities.
Yes, exactly.
Gender and climate change, youth and climate change, migration,
Exactly.
and culture. So we can't establish, you can't build this future without the citizens of tomorrow.
Yes, the citizens of tomorrow is, what is this? Unfortunately, we don't really have the time to discuss further about the topic. What is the last word you would say for this initiative to grow, maybe? Ms. Hajar.
Actually, I just wanted to clear more our initiative and what makes it different than the others. We really aim to work on 3 levels. Okay, we want to work at the political level to raise our voice, a youth Mediterranean voice, to influence policies on climate change. The second level is working on social by capacity building and youth empowerment by sharing experiences, etc. And the third level, which is technical, which we find is very important, is to implement local and regional projects who respond to our challenges of the Mediterranean. And I think our network will be successful with all the passion and faith we are giving it.
The passion is there. I can see it in your eyes.
Thank you.
Federico.
Yes, I absolutely agree. I think we will have to work hard,
Yes.
especially after COP22 in Marrakesh, which will be a sort of starting point for this new network that we are aiming at establishing. And we will have to see how to measure our success in the next future. Because otherwise, it might just seem another new network created with just general objectives, but not concrete actions provided. So we will have to define very clear goals to achieve. And I think one single and very simple measure of success could be achieved if in a few years from now, we will meet again with all the Mediterranean Youth Climate organizations as we did a couple of days ago. And we will no longer be just together as we were 2 days ago, of course, because it was the first meeting. But we will be united, not for the goal, which is obviously the same that we are working for,
Of course.
but in the ways, in the means we want to achieve it.
Well, I think the message is clear enough, and I just would remind about this beautiful initiative of the Mediterranean Youth Climate Forum, and I wish you a lot of luck, and please keep up the good work. Mr. Yazami, thank you
Thanks
for
a lot.
being here with us. Hajar and Federico, thank you again. Thank you very much. C'était court et